Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, and thanks so much for joining us here on Live Impact News. I'm Marta Berglund, filling in for Eugene this morning. It is March 16th, and I'm joined by producer Sarah, of course, and we've got meteorologist Craig Moeller. And just as a forewarning, this show is going to be a lot about weather, Craig, because that is the big headline of the day.
With good reason, Marta, with good reason. Yeah, it's not just because I like to talk a lot.
Which we know you do. But there's reason to chat today.
There is, guys. We've got a serious severe weather threat today. And we may have Evan Stewart come in and join me a little bit. I started working here in 1997, and we do occasionally get a severe weather potential that is pretty, great across the area. This one is about as ominous a severe weather outlook as I've seen, thinking back, since 1997 when I started. Now, there have obviously been hurricanes that have been bearing down. I dealt with Isabel. We've dealt with bigger storm systems in terms of tropical systems and whatever else. And we may have seen some big outbreaks or just as big, in the past. But looking at what the Storm Prediction Center's putting out, we've got a really, really good chance for a severe weather outbreak across the region. So this is certainly one of the more ominous ones that I've seen since I've been here in Hampton Roads. I want to start off, you see that picture of a tornado. That is not anything recently. I just grabbed that tornado image because we do have an elevated risk of tornadoes today. And the main thing we can suggest is be prepared. There's that baby again, Sarah. No, that's my screensaver. But the point is, as soon as I did that, I was like, Sarah's going to give me trouble. Got to show my grandson.
No, not trouble. Show it off all you want.
Anyway, my point is, have your cellular devices, your mobile phones, your tablets, whatever you have them all charged and ready to go, because the setup for this thing is such that there's a really good chance we're going to see a lot of winds, damaging winds, and those winds can take trees and put them into power lines. We expect numerous outages later today. Dominion Energy does a phenomenal job preparing for these events. They really do. Their crews are already in places where they think, could be bad, and they want folks to know, hey, they are staged and ready to go. But if winds take out a power pole, it can take sometimes, several hours, up to 8 hours to replace a power pole and get that lines up and rolling. So some of the disruptions that could occur could be significant. Now, you're looking at the national picture. Let's take a look at where that storm system is. And as I put on the area of low pressure, you can see we've got the main heart of this system. Okay, the central area of low pressure, well off to the north, up around the Great Lakes region. And you see I'm highlighting it right there with the arrow. You can see that low rolling across the lower peninsula of Michigan, approaching Lake Huron. There's kind of a secondary or some upper level energy, which is just off to the northeast of Chicago. This front down to the south that extends down, this is the one that is going to push into very unstable air. Here in the mid-Atlantic, we've got warm and humid air, dew points up into the 60s, and that cold front is really significant. As that comes in, we're going to see showers and storms developing, and the potential is there for severe weather. Look at all of the watches and warnings for the southeast U.S. We can take a closer look and zoom in a little bit. And one of these warnings, Marta, is just down to the northeast of the Charlotte area and to the east of it. Looks like they just updated this tornado warning down there. We'll zoom in and take a closer look. You see just a little bit of that warning left. But this cell right here, again, a tornado warning. I believe that runs until quarter after the hour. It's going to pop up on the screen here. I believe that's till 10:15. And it is, again. And this hazard, again, a tornado, some of these cells have been stronger and kind of developing and rolling along. Then you see some rotation in some of them, and folks just need to be ready to go very quickly. So while we continue to analyze all of this as it moves in and continues to march eastward, we'll be watching for additional isolated tornadoes. Here's another one that is just down to the south here in Georgia. It looks like it's just south and approaching Valdosta. Let's take a look at that one and give you some more information on that. This new warning popping up. And this one, again, is in place. And about 54,000 people under that until 10:30. So that's a new warning down there. This thing, and I guess that's pronounced Moultrie maybe, down in Georgia. That one looks a little suspicious as well. It's not warned on yet, but I can just tell you we've got a little kind of notch right in here and then a little tip down along the southwest edge of that. That's an area that should be monitored very carefully. That's just a thunderstorm warning. But the bottom line is, Sarah and Marta, we do have the potential for these cells to kind of spin up along these lines, and this is what we're going to be watching as this whole line moves closer to Hampton Roads. Looks like we have a tornado warning out. Let's zoom in here. Show you this is, I think, a new one. I hadn't seen that one before. You can see that's out around Peters Creek, approaching Blackberry maybe, and Spencer, some of the areas out there to the west. I picked the wrong time to not bring my readers, Sarah. I'm just telling you. All right, as we take a look, Sarah, don't you laugh at me. Get the old man jokes. All right, we're taking a look here. Let me put the warning up for that so you can see what's going on with that tornado warning. Again, this is all moving along, and this warning just until 10:30. So this is a new one. Patrick Springs, Peters Creek, and Stewart, all of those in the county of Patrick. About 7,000 people under that tornado warning. I think this is a real good indication of what we could be seeing later today, kind of some discrete tornadoes popping up along the line. And then there's also the potential for some stronger ones. And what do I mean by that? Well, as we pull back out, let me set this up so we can zoom back out a little bit here. We have two types of formations we could see. Again, sometimes along the line, you can get spin-up tornadoes along that line. But there's also the potential that we could see some of these cells really ramping up and producing stronger cells, something on the order, of an EF2 or even an EF3 tornado. The severe weather threat for this afternoon is a level 4. Now, level 1, when we shade it in green, Marta, you see this all the time. That's like marginal risk. We say, okay, there could be some stray storms. There might be an isolated severe storm or two. We'll keep an eye to it. When you get into the yellow areas, that is what we call a level 2 or slight risk. In that case, okay, maybe scattered severe storms. We'll get a few of those. And when you have that level 2 threat, you get a watch frequently posted. You get a thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch. When you get into level 3, that's enhanced. That's the area shaded in orange. When you have an enhanced risk, you expect there to be numerous severe storms. And then you get to the level 4 or widespread threat. That case, a lot of tornadoes or thunderstorm warnings can be anticipated, several of them anyway. And in that case, you have to be ready to go. These are the types that can do a lot of damage. Down towards Columbia through Florence, this area all elevated up through Raleigh and Rocky Mount, Roanoke Rapids, South Boston up through Farmville, Emporia, Franklin, Williamsburg, Richmond, Tappahannock, all the way up to D.C. For the immediate viewing area, we are under a level 3 threat. That's an enhanced threat. That's for Norfolk, for Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, most of Suffolk, Hampton, Poquoson, most of Matthews over to the eastern shore. Once you go farther inland, the western part of Matthews and Gloucester County, you do have those areas under the level 4 threat. For James City County, York, also the western side of Newport News, up around Fort Eustis, level 4 threat. We really need folks to be extra mindful and understand this severe weather threat. Obviously, Surrey, Sussex, Waverly, those areas, Wakefield, where our National Weather Service office is located, they are under this, so they will be paying extra close attention, you can bet. They always do a fantastic job, but it's in their own backyard. Go ahead, Marta.
I was just going to ask, with something like this, I know throughout being in TV for only a few years, we see level 1s, we sometimes see level 2s. I've never personally worked somewhere that has been under like a level 4. Yeah. Can you just contextualize, like for Hampton Roads especially, does this happen very often?
It does not. That's a great question and a point we're trying to drive home with this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say right now, Marta, honest to goodness, I mean, I would catch a tremendous amount of heat if this forecast busted, because we're talking so much about it. You know, people are like, oh, you guys don't know. Let me tell you, if this thing busting and not coming together, you know, happened and people were spared wind damage and tornado damage and everything, you can call me whatever you want, okay? Seriously. But all signs are pointing to this not busting, this being a legitimate storm. The Storm Prediction Center, we don't make this up at 13 News. We're passing along what the very best severe storm forecasters in the world are calling for. They work out of Norman, Oklahoma. They're the ones that identify the severe weather potentials and the threats, and they issue the watches. Now, the local weather service offices, they're the ones that issue the warnings. So remember the difference between a watch and a warning? A watch means all the ingredients are there. Okay, we're going to see a watch going up this afternoon. We'll have a tornado watch for Hampton Roads and eastern North Carolina. That'll go up through the afternoon and maybe extend through, let's say maybe like 2 to say 7 or 8, something like that, or somewhere in that time frame. Maybe 1 to 7 or 2 to 8, something like that. Okay, all the ingredients are there to make the cake. When you actually make the cake and that storm comes together, you know, you could have all your ingredients. If it doesn't come together, it's just a watch. You just have the ingredients. When everything comes together and you actually bake the cake and you have the cake, that's the warning, and that's when people need to take action. We'll see about how many warnings there are, but this line has this tremendous history. And when you take a look at this, what's really striking about this one, Marta, not just that we have a level 4 threat. I mean, we have frequently level 1 and level 2 threats during severe storm season. You would expect that. We sometimes have level 3. When we do, it's like, hey guys, this is a serious potential. We have a bunch of extra staffing on hand. We're ready to cover it. Level 4 doesn't happen a ton. Maybe once a year or a couple times a year you have this level. I don't recall. I was talking to Evan Stewart, who he and I both started mid to late 90s here at 13 News. We've both been here a long time. A time that we saw this much of the area, maybe one other time that I can remember, that, we've got this level 4 threat widespread. And you see these black hashes on the map. That indicates that not only do you have a high potential of tornadoes, but that these could be EF2 or greater. Now, on the weather desk, which we did from 9 until just right before we started this stream, we did a special extended one. Evan took a look at the different categories. And it was interesting. I didn't realize exactly what the numbers were, but I can vaguely remember what he had said in his report. 50% of tornadoes, roughly, are EF0s. Little quick spin-ups. They kind of do their thing. Spin up. Maybe they do a little bit of damage to weakly constructed buildings like sheds or outhouses, things like that. Do some tree damage, whatever. EF1s, okay, that was around, I think that was around, was it 30%, I think. You know, so you've got EF0s and EF1s roughly accounting for like 80% of the tornadoes that occur. When you get to an EF2, there you're looking at only 9% are that strong. So we are looking at that area hashtagged in, the potential for EF2 or greater. When you get to EF3, then it becomes, I think, 3%. And then, you know, the balance kind of works out EF4 or EF5. So you look at this, this is not a very common thing. And we are outlook for that. A level 3 for the immediate metro, level 4 for inland areas, and that EF2 or greater, that's a concern. In addition, even if we don't get hit with a tornado, you know, in this place or that place, you know, and they'll be kind of maybe isolated, scattered. I do expect some tornado warnings later today. But even if you don't get hit with that, you could still have issues with power and other things because we have this strong wind potential, winds gusting in excess of 60 or even 70, 75 miles per hour. That white hashtag area showing areas that could see winds in excess of 70, 75. Very, very strong. 5 different levels for strong wind potential, Marta. You can count them up. Light blue is 1. Medium blue is 2. Third shade, 3. Dark blue is 4. And that super dark blue, almost black, level 5. Look at that. A 60% chance or greater that we see damaging winds potentially within 25 miles of any point in that darkest shade of blue. So the chances are so great across the Piedmont and down into North Carolina. And again, this line has a history of producing the severe storms. Hail, not as great a threat, thank goodness. You can see the hail threat is pretty minimal, but it does extend all the way down to the southeast. All right, we're back to the radar, and I want to get back in and take a look at some more warnings. Looks like another warning just issued, a new tornado warning north here of Winston-Salem. Actually, right around the Winston-Salem area. Let me put that one up so you can get a feel for this.
So is this the line that's headed, like, is this what we could be looking at later today? All these warnings popping up, do you think?
Yeah, this is part of it. I mean, this is the leading edge. The thing is, we could have a couple of different waves, maybe a few waves of this. This first wave kind of way out in front. There's a second wave that, we could see develop that would be a little closer. This is going to be into the early afternoon. The stuff that we're tracking right now comes in here. I'm going to stay and Evan and I are going to do the noon show together. Early afternoon, there's this potential. And then late afternoon, we could see another round before the actual front will come through between 8 and 10 o'clock. So we could see a few waves of this. That's why we can't drop our guard. All right, this new tornado warning for the city of Clemens, Deep River, Kernersville, and Winston-Salem, about 320,000 people under it until 10:45. Martinsville, Virginia, under a warning as well. Let's put that one up. This is a brand new one until 10:45 as well. Blackberry, Collinsville, Horse Pasture, and Martinsville, including the Franklin County, Erie, Henry, and Patrick counties, 42,000 there, also until 10:45. So a lot going on out there, obviously, and we'll continue to watch all of this. Do you have questions, Sarah? You're just sitting there so quietly.
She's working hard.
Yeah.
I
think
actually
she's
do
working
have
hard.
a
Go ahead.
question.
She's like, I'm going to stump you.
When will this, because, you're looking at North Carolina right now, for our area, when will we see most of the impacts? Like,
So-
is this going to be a rush hour thing?
Potentially. I think we're going to see a wave that fills in during the early afternoon. And then there's a potential for another round closer to rush hour. Whether or not that comes, it's kind of interesting. If we could just talk for just a second here. With these storms, when you have like waves of this, sometimes you'll get a line of storms that can do a couple of things. One, they can stabilize the atmosphere at least for a while. So if you get this heating out ahead of it, what happens when it rains? Cools the atmosphere a little bit, right? So that can actually steal some of the energy for the next round. But sometimes it can produce the rain drop. You have more humidity. If the sun breaks through again, that can add extra fuel. So we're going to have to watch to see how everything plays out this afternoon and early evening. But these are all things that we're looking at. I'm going to jump into the futurecast in just a moment, but I wanted to show you what's out there just off to our west and to our southwest. Now, this initial line, let's zoom in here. You can see over the western parts of the area, this is not severe, it's just some rain. We're also seeing some showers up around Accomack County, Northampton, seeing a few sprinkles here, not too far from Cape Charles. Tappahannock down through areas west of Williamsburg and down towards Emporia, Roanoke Rapids. Non-severe, just areas of rain. You go farther to the west, here's a line that is more impressive. And again, we'll just have to see how things continue to play out in these areas as we go along. All right, I'm going to pull down and try to get into our futurecast so you can get a feel for what is anticipated. Let's come to this one here. And I think our futurecast will be popping up in just a moment. Again, you see that rain out to the west. So far, it hasn't been bad at all across Hampton Roads. We've seen a mix of clouds and sunshine. Our sky views have been looking pretty good. All right, so here's a look at the futurecast, and you can see this morning those showers kind of hit and miss out towards I-95. Looks pretty good at initialization. A few showers down to the south around Kill Devil Hills. This model, kind of as we go over the next couple of hours, by noon you see some of those storms building as we go towards noon. Down around the Outer Banks, some stronger storms as well. As we head into the middle part of the afternoon around 2 o'clock, you see the model here kind of blows up some activity around Edenton, some more activity up on the peninsula, and then carries it towards Virginia Beach through 3:30. This is one model. This is not a guarantee that this is going to happen. It's just an indication of how this model is depicting this. Some of the other models kind of hold some of it back until later, but this is at least one solution to consider. You'll notice at 6 o'clock here, still some strong storms down to the south and up around the eastern shore right along the coast. But then there's this break for the central and western parts of the area with that narrow band that you see out around Emporia and Richmond on the map. That's actually where the front is, and that comes pushing through around 10 o'clock. At that point, it'd be rain. We'd be saying so long, and then we turn our attention to a cooler and sunnier St. Patrick's Day. So will it be an early afternoon with nothing in the late afternoon? It's possible that we could see more activity earlier, but I will tell you some of the other models were really blowing this stuff up more during the mid to late afternoon. So it's really a tough call. The models are updating hourly. We're getting every 3 hours, we get a different set of models coming in. So we're going to continue to watch all of this and most importantly, track for you with the radar showing you what's actually happening with these warnings throughout the day.
So it's not so much rain that's the concern. Is it, I mean, I know you've talked about wind and tornadoes and hail. Is there one of those that you're most worried about?
Biggest concern is going to be the wind field, just strong outflow from the storms. And again, this is really concentrated, Marta, back over the Piedmont, so the western half of our area. I'm going to put up that wind threat one more time, and I want you to get a good look. If you are watching right now, you might be thinking, well, okay, I watch from Poquoson. What's my threat here? Let's go ahead and take a look at this threat. And as we zoom in, it's going to pop up here on the screen. You will see that wind threat. And let me take that little circle off there. Again, the area is shaded in darkest green. This is the middle peninsula, the northern neck. Again, areas up around Williamsburg, parts of the peninsula, and areas west. Okay, down across the south side, there's still plenty of wind potential. Talking Suffolk, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Norfolk, even Virginia Beach. Although, as you get closer to the coast, that threat goes from a 60% chance to a 45% chance around the metro to a 30% chance in Virginia Beach. So maybe the ocean front lucks out and these storms weaken a little bit, but by no means am I saying that's a certainty, and we don't want anybody dropping their guard. The entire 13 News Now viewing area is hashtag for potential strong winds in excess of 25 miles per hour. So you got to pay attention to that. Strong winds would be the most widespread concern, but I got to tell you again, the tornado potential is significant as well. So we really need folks, especially Central Virginia, Central North Carolina, to be on guard for these developing cells.
And can you just clarify with those graphics, specifically like the potential ones? It's not, the colors don't represent like the severity necessarily, as more of like the probability of the severity?
No. Okay.
Or just the probability?
No, that's a good question.
Because in my mind, I see dark red. I'm like, oh, it's the worst is going to be in Richmond.
Well, that's fair. But it's not that, you could have an EF2 tornado anywhere. And maybe somewhere in Richmond they have an EF0 or an EF1. And maybe in Norfolk or down in northeast North Carolina where it's a little lighter shade, you might think, oh, well, it's not as intense here. You could have a stronger tornado in those areas. Don't get hung up on that. Everywhere across our area has the potential, pretty much, except for the eastern shore. I believe they are right on the edge. They might be just outside that hashtag area because it's really close. Maybe there, I would just say everybody. Let's just be safe and say everybody has the potential for that EF2 or greater tornado. That's from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, the chances of seeing tornadoes, the probability of getting a tornado is lower up in the eastern shore, where it drops down to 5% in that orange area. And that's a 5% chance within 25 miles of any point pretty much in Accomack. In Northampton County, up on the eastern shore, that jumps to 10%. And 10% is what the chances are for the metro area all the way to the coast through eastern North Carolina. That darker red goes to 15%. And again, I know I don't even like to start talking percentages because 15% to me is like, oh, that's not too bad. But when it comes to the chances of 15% chance of a tornado occurring within 25 miles, any point in that area, that's a lot more significant. So I know it's a weird way. It's just what the National Weather Service does. And again, 13 News Now, our staff of meteorologists here, all fully degreed, fully certified. We're not making these numbers up. This is from the Storm Prediction Center out of NOAA and specifically that center in Oklahoma. And they are the experts for severe weather prediction.
Well, I didn't think you were making them up, but
Right.
thank you for clarifying.
No, but I mean, it is wild when we look at that. Doesn't mean everybody's going to see it, but the potential is really elevated that we could see some severe storms. Again, I would love it if somehow something changes and the storms rob energy and they don't get that bad. Great. Okay. But again, it's our responsibility as broadcast meteorologists to take what these experts in Norman, Oklahoma are saying and saying, hey guys, we need everyone to be aware that this is a potential. And it's not to panic anybody. I'm not panicked about this, but I can tell you all of my devices are charged. In fact, I brought in extra gear as I anticipate working even into the afternoon, covering some of these severe storms from the field. I don't do that all the time, but in this case, I said, you know what? I'm going to bring the extra stuff just because I think there will be storms to cover.
So let's talk about the weather right now because
Okay.
you've got the Dairy Queen camera or camera of the ocean front from Dairy Queen behind
Looks pretty
you.
good.
It looks a little wavy out there right now, but I was looking at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, making sure there's no wind restrictions in place. Does not appear that at the moment things are too terribly concerning. It's just kind of humid out there.
It is muggy, and again, that is the fuel that kind of, provides the energy for these storms to fire up. When you get dew points well into the 60s and you've got a strong front coming in, that's enough to trigger some of these storms. You also have winds that are increasing, and I do want to get in. Let me see if I can pull up. I believe we've got a wind advisory in place. I've been so busy talking about the severe weather threat, I haven't even talked about just a simple wind advisory that's up. But we do have the potential with the windy conditions later today. I do think that we're going to see, let me put up dew points real quick on here and see what we have. I am going to bring up a graphic here if Sarah wants to take it. I had made this note. Watches and warnings are coming later today. We want folks to know about that. Dew points right now are in the low 60s, so there's ample juice in the atmosphere. Our winds have been gusting as well. So far, the winds have been gusting around 25 to 30 miles per hour, several locations. A little bit stronger up at Wallops and right around Virginia Beach, 30 so far, but I think we'll see those winds building as we go. So again, you mentioned the sky views showing right now in our Thompson Creek Window Company. Sky views do a great job. Down at the ocean front, not too bad. The birds kind of doing a little scavenging down there before the storm's coming in. It's almost like they know something. But, we have that potential for the gusty winds, and eventually we are going to see it kind of playing out. Let's get into the forecast here, and let me give you some more information. First of all, we'll take a look at our temperatures, and right now, the temperatures across the area, upper 60s. We finally got into the low 70s around Franklin, Suffolk, and Chesapeake. It is 70 degrees. In addition to the storms, we also have gale warnings going up for the bay and for the ocean as we go along through the afternoon and into the evening. Now, the satellite and the radar images, you can see the storms out there across the southeastern U.S., and note the snow flying. Marta, didn't you say you have a friend or somebody back in the upper Midwest that was talking about the snow coming in?
Well, yeah, my whole family's up in Minnesota. My sister said she was supposed to get 20 inches of snow. My cousins are driving back from Chicago, which is fine, but they have to go through Wisconsin and Minnesota, and Wisconsin's like getting completely buried. So
Yeah,
This
Wisconsin's
is a live
getting
look.
it now.
what is this, Green
This
Bay?
is Green Bay.
Oh,
Imagine
there you
getting
go.
that in March.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun in Christmas season, and then it's like, okay.
Like when you get the first taste of warm
Yes.
weather, and then
Now
it's like,
let's
dust.
wrap it
Those
up.
poor folks up in Green Bay don't even have football to look forward to this
Right.
Sunday. It's one
Yes.
thing if you're digging out from snow and it's your jam and you've got football and stuff, it's fine. But now it's like, come on, let's get summer
I
here.
mean, we had a
you know.
summer day a few
Yeah,
days ago.
For sure. Good point. So as we take a look here, again, some showers out to the west. We mentioned the storms developing. And what's interesting, this is going to update, I think, pretty soon here. We'll get an updated future cast. But you can see how it does develop some of those storms through the early afternoon. And there you go, 3:30, 4 o'clock. Look at the storms that are kind of popping up on this projection here out to the west. These storms here south of Emporia, out around Franklin, up towards Newport News. This is at 3:30. So there is that concern. Here you go, more storms. It's like this just updated, so I think this is the new one coming in. More storms around 6 o'clock, Newport News down through Chesapeake, Ahoskie. This is what we were more concerned with. That line there coming through late afternoon and into the evening, impacting the evening commute. And then you can see the line actually comes through around 10 o'clock and then clears after that cooler for St. Patrick's Day. Tree pollen is moderate. We mentioned that. Highs today, low to mid 70s. Marta, you were asking about the conditions out there. Eastern Shore a little cooler because these winds are coming up from the south, and the winds blowing across the water keep it a little cooler up on the Eastern Shore. That's why they're in the low to mid 60s up that way, with everybody else so much warmer. Low 70s for Northeast North Carolina, close to 70 at the Outer Banks. Overnight, how about that? 33.
Boo.
Wait, I wish. Now, where was my producer on that? She was, go ahead, put yourself up there, Sarah. She just gave me the full-on Muppets wide open mouth, like, look, I mean, are you not prepared to get back into the low 30s tomorrow morning?
No.
Not at all.
No, I was just talking about how you get the taste of warm weather.
And now you're ready for
You're
it.
done.
all
I mean,
over.
it's March 16th.
St. Patrick's Day tomorrow.
All right, but here's where the luck of the Irish is with us. Mostly sunny, mid to upper 40s. That's fine. It's cold. That's like over 10 degrees below average. So it's chilly, but the storms will be out. Anybody that's going out to celebrate St. Patty's Day proper. And,
See, 40s that's reasonable.
yeah, upper 40s especially.
Yeah. 30s,
Not so much.
33. No.
All right, we will officially file Sarah's complaint. All right, you look at Wednesday, mid-40s. Some of the models going a little cooler, but I still think with the sunshine, and we're getting to the point of the year now where the sun angle's high enough where the ground temperatures start to respond. So, that's why I think we're going a little bit above what some of the guidance was suggesting. Still holding mid-40s there. And then the warm-up Thursday into Friday. By the weekend, upper 60s. That looks really, really good for us. So things are good there. Sarah, do you have any questions? We've been going right now because we don't have severe weather across the immediate area. If you wanted to take a commercial break, I know we've got some that you like to get in. This would be a perfect time. And when we come back, we'll have some more talk about this. Does that work?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. Again, I'm Marta Berglund, and we're just coming back from a very long forecast from meteorologist Craig Muller. All very helpful information as we make our way into this severe weather threat. So I think it's important to note that we are not the only area facing severe weather right now. Of course, he mentioned we're getting snow in some portions of the country. Lots of areas right now seeing the severe storm threat that we'll see kind of later today. So we're going to bring up the latest travel information for you, because the weather and, of course, the partial government shutdown all having an impact on flights. This is a look. This is arrivals, right, Sarah? As we take a look there. Yeah, so it looks like most of our arrivals are in pretty good shape this morning. We have a delay from Atlanta. We have a delay from New York City. We have a delayed flight from Detroit and a few canceled flights as well. So looks like we have a canceled arrival from Chicago this afternoon. That is, of course, one of the areas getting hit with the wintry weather, the flooding. This is some ABC video that was previously recorded of some severe storms in Chicago earlier. I believe this was yesterday. So lots of areas of the country dealing with those weather issues. If you do have travel planned for the next few days, you're certainly going to want to stay up to date on the ORF website or on your airlines app. All right, departures leaving from ORF today. We're in pretty good shape throughout the morning. New York, Atlanta, Philadelphia. Let's see if we have any cancellations. Okay, we have a cancellation to New York. That's a Delta flight, a delay to Charlotte. Looks like most of our flights to DC are looking good. It's those flights up to New York, Chicago, etc., where we're seeing the most issues. So do keep that in mind, and once again, we'll continue to watch our flight board as we head throughout today. As of right now, also we've been checking in on Dominion Energy. We have not seen too many major power outages throughout today. Looks like 2,000 customers are without power in their whole service area. In Hampton Roads specifically, though, we're not looking bad. And I was tracking a few outages that actually appeared to be related to some equipment replacement. So I think they might be doing some preps or equipment upgrade. You can see that on the screen there. It looks like they might be doing some preps for the weather that's coming in the next few hours, so continuing to watch that.
And so the map is nice to visualize exactly where in the state there are. Sometimes I go over to the summary where it lists exactly how many are out by the region. I think our region, we're southeastern Virginia, only 42 outages right now, but that's expected because the weather hasn't gotten here yet.
Yeah, it's the calm before the storm. We're preparing.
But yeah, Northern Virginia, there's a lot.
Marcia, I was
2,000.
wondering, did you make the point, you may have done that, I mean, Dominion, every time we talk with them, they always stress the need to report any outage, even if you assume, because I mean, I've been in that shape where like, I'm sure somebody reported it. Like, no. Dominion Energy will tell you, if you have an outage, make sure you report. You may be the only one on your street without power, and they will get to you if they know, but don't assume that somebody else has already reported your outage. So I know you can contact Dominion Power, or Dominion Energy rather, and we've got that contact information. We frequently put it up during the severe weather. But I just want to make sure folks know, do not leave it to somebody else because it is a thing.
Mm-hmm. Looks like, the majority of people right now without power through Dominion are in the Washington, D.C. area. So,
and
Tree
this
Online.
even says Tree Online.
And knocking out for 340
Are they're
people.
seeing stuff already? DC is?
Well, no, I mean, there's some gusty winds right now. It's not that it's necessarily super stormy up there. They may have had some winds gusting with some showers going through. But as we go through the afternoon, at some point with the lines getting closer to us, we're going to start seeing more of that. I think you'll start getting more reports of potential wind damage. I want to show you the travel outlook, and not to just take this thing and run sideways with it, Marta, but to your point.
Go right ahead,
No. You can see, though, as we go through the afternoon, how the travel, what we were calling travel delays, this is a good way to look at like impacts. And early this morning, again, the concerns were mainly central and western parts of Virginia. As we go later today through the middle part of the day, you see how the concern shifts eastward and into the evening. We're still going to see the chances for some significant delays due to the strong gusty winds and potential for severe storms. So midday through late, and then they've got to worry about some more conditions up in the mountains back there as well. But the main thing, the thing I wanted folks to know is that we're going to see the winds picking up later this afternoon, and that's what you're looking at there.
Yeah, so even if you're not in one of those areas or you're not headed to one of those areas that's like directly impacted. I know we have some people out in Chicago right now, some colleagues like out in the Midwest, either getting back or going to certain areas. I mean, it's interesting that right now it seems like most parts of the country are dealing with some form of strange weather, whatever it may be.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff for sure. And again, as that front continues to slide east, we're going to see the changes coming up here. Primary threats, again, gusty winds, the potential for those tornadoes, moderate to, you could even say a major risk of tornadoes as we look out to the west. For the Hampton Roads area, it's more moderate, but it is major as you go across the central and western parts of the area. And then the good news is that flash flooding doesn't appear to be as great a threat with the systems kind of moving along with the wet weather. Cells will pop up, but they're going to keep rolling. We expect maybe a half an inch or so of rain. And the hail threat is also lower, so that's a minor risk compared to the tornado threat and those winds.
All right, Craig, we're going to talk with AAA in about 15 minutes about, ways to be safe if you're in a vehicle during severe weather. But we had a conversation this morning about, can you outrun a tornado if you're in your vehicle? And you say the answer is a bit spag.
It's tricky, okay? Now, I wish, like I said, Evan Stewart, I think, is going to join us in a little bit because he and I could talk about the way things used to be, all right? For the longest time, the messaging was never try to outrun a tornado. And you think about this, tornadoes, if you are in a car, tornadoes don't have to pay attention to streets or side roads or traffic. They don't have to pay attention to road signs or speed limits or anything else. Tornadoes can pick up and put down and pick up and put down. They can touch and kind of skip along. They can cover a lot of ground very, very quickly. So I bring this up because the Weather Service and you take a look at, and I actually have my tornado safety boards. We'll bring these in here so we can actually show you some of the graphics. The kind of way that they've gone about this, things have changed a few ways. One, we have better built cars now, okay? And it used to be, if the winds start rocking, the worst place you could possibly be is in a car. And the reason for that is because, winds can pick up a car and flip it around like, I can toss my phone here, all right? That's why you won't want to be inside a car. You'd be picked up, thrown, and people were dying. Now, because the cars have so many other safety features like airbags and, the restraint systems and the construction of the cars are built better to take side impact, front impact, all these things. The cages are better. They're now saying if there's debris flying around and you are trapped in your car, and if you get out, you're going to be thrown into sticks and boards and things whipping around, you're better off to get down below the window height in your car and cover your head. All right. The other thing was never try to outrun a tornado. Well, now, if you're moving with a clear path to get away from that thing, if you can move, if the tornado's moving this way and you're on a road that's going this way, get away from it. Don't stop, potentially somewhere in the path of it, get out and take shelter. I mean, if you can get inside a sturdy building, that's a good idea. But the main thing is, if you've got a clear shot to get away, obviously. The main thing is you don't want to put yourself in that position to start. So that's kind of what we were discussing before.
And it's obviously better to be indoors in general. And we were also talking about, obviously, a basement is ideal.
Absolutely.
But if you're somebody like me who doesn't have a basement, what do people recommend?
So let's take a look at your indoor tornado safety, okay? Tornado safety. I think this is
Sorry, I
the one
put
I've
you
got
on the
pulled
spot
up.
a little bit.
You take a look here. If you are indoor, you want to go to the basement or the lowest center room in your house. You want to put as many walls between yourself and the outside as possible. Stay away from windows and cover yourself. Take a minute to grab a blanket or to grab some cushions, or, if you've got sofa cushions, drag a mattress maybe. I mean, whatever you have that you can protect yourself from debris that may come in, okay? That's the main thing. Interior room of the house, lowest level you can. That's going to give you your best chance. If you are in a high rise, a lot of folks live in apartments. You want to go to the lowest floor possible. You do not want to be in an apartment building on the third floor of a 3-story apartment building. Roofs get ripped off. The winds are more violent up a little bit than they are down closer to the ground. So get as low as you can, and you want to get as low as you can. If you are in a high rise, you can seek shelter in interior stairwells. They are typically built with cinder blocks and are better built to withstand this. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen tornado damage to structures. Top roof destroyed, windows, top floor is shaved off, but the interior lower rooms, and even on single-story structures, you could have things taken off, but there's usually some point of the house, that interior room, might be an interior hallway or a closet off that inside hallway. Whatever it is, that's going to give you your best chance for survival.
I thought you were going to keep talking.
So
Sorry.
Martha was just taken with my storytelling. She was just sitting back there. But no, I just didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to ask about that. I'm going to pull up some of the other safety tips.
Trying to think. We've talked about being inside. We've talked about being
Here's
in
a
a
look
car.
at the car with the official graphics here so you can see, again, what to do if you're in a car. Obviously, you want to seek shelter in a building or underground. If you're caught in extreme winds and debris, this is what we were talking about. Park the car out of traffic. You don't want to stop in the middle of a highway because that next motorist might be freaked out about the storm and not paying attention and slam into you. So you got to get out of traffic, stay in the car, seatbelt on, put your head down below the windows and cover your head with your hands and, a blanket or coat if you've got it. Important, only leave the car if you can safely get to a noticeably lower position. So that might be a little bit, if the debris is flying and you can't get to a place where you're going to be safer, you don't want to do that. All right, so you can ride it out in the car. It might be absolutely terrifying, and the car might get rolled or flipped or whatever. But none of these are good places to be, by the way, until you get into a strong shelter or can get underground. But that gives you a chance.
And also talking about, even if people don't see, tornadoes today. Some of these tips may be helpful for, you were mentioning like 75 mile per hour winds. That's still pretty intense if you have, outdoor furniture, if you have sticks and things blowing around.
So in that case, okay, and again, when we talk about getting to the lowest level of your home, with tornadoes, they spin around and you get these violent winds rotating around, obviously. They can grab debris and trees and building materials and throw them in all different directions. With straight line winds, it's all coming from the cell in one direction. It's blowing out, all right? You can have, like my mom back in St. Louis has these beautiful trees in her backyard. But when there's powerful windstorms, some of those branches come down. So you don't even need to have a tornado or a tornado threat where you are. And again, we have that threat today. But you don't have to be hit with a tornado to still be wise to be low level interior room, because we see all the time, even with strong straight line winds, branches can come into roofs, can hit those top floors of houses, can come in through windows. So you're right, Marta. It's very smart to have that, have this kind of basic knowledge, no matter what, whether we get severe tornadoes or just strong winds. One thing, what to do if you're outside. You want to talk about that? This is always like a really
besides freak out.
Well, yeah,
if you're me.
Try not to freak out, because a freaked out person doesn't always think clearly. If you can seek shelter in a building, do it immediately. Always, 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 always. If there's a building or shelter that's sturdy that you can get into, go do it. All right. Now, if you are unable, you want to get away from trees or cars, things that could blow over into you or roll over onto you. Okay. You want to lie flat on the ground. Okay, in a low area preferably, all right? Crisscross your legs at the ankles. I like to interlock my fingers, put them behind my head, bring in the elbows, and lay flat face down on the ground. Keep yourself low. Where people get into trouble, you worry about lift and getting picked up and carried, is if wind gets underneath you. If you are flat on the ground, you can withstand a lot of wind blowing over the top. If you're on all fours, your knees and hands, wind gets under your belly, boom, you can sail. So stay down flat so that air cannot get underneath you. You're protecting your neck, your ears, your cheeks, your eyes. All your soft spots are covered either by the ground or by your arms.
Well, Craig, we're making
not a
you
great
work.
option, yeah, but better than nothing.
We're making you work really hard. I wonder if you mind, before we take a quick break, do you mind talking about when you're looking at the radar, and you were sort of mentioning this earlier, what are you seeing, like with cells, that's making you think, oh, that could be a warning. Oh, that's something that we should be watching for. That could turn into a warning.
So that's all, again, good question here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to take the radar up. And as I mentioned, I anticipate more watches and warnings issued later today. That is the anticipate. Well, look at this. We just got a watch. So there you go. This
I timed that on
came
purpose.
out. What's that?
I did that on purpose.
Did you know that was kind of...
No.
Right. You could have said yes, and I would have gone with it. Take a look here, okay? This is a brand new watch that was just issued. Take this full share, because I'm going to need to get up close and read this. We are looking at this together for the first time. All right, we have a tornado watch, and all morning, Marty, I was saying, hey, we will see a tornado watch. This is going to run, and this extends all the way up through Baltimore, Washington, D.C., the Virginia Beach, oceanfront, Norfolk, areas out to the west, our entire viewing area north of the Albemarle Sound, and this will be until 7 o'clock this evening. So the fact that they issued this from 11 to 7, I thought, okay, maybe, noon to 8 or, whatever, that's fine. And it looks like we've got a new flashing warning just out to the west. It's coming together, guys. So we have this. Again, over 9 million people under this watch. This is a large area that is under the watch, and this just issued until 7 o'clock. We need to be prepared. Let me clear that box off of this, and we're going to take a look at this warning.
So that's the purple.
That is
highlighting?
The area, magenta, correct.
Magenta.
That's basically the entire area. Look at this. Okay, so we've got 3 warnings out there. These are all newer warnings out to the west along this line. So what you have this line right here, okay? And along that, we're getting some rotating cells. Now, you were asking, what do we look for? We look for a number of things, but along the line, we look for little notches, okay? And let me see if we can zoom in here and take a look. This is not the live radar, so I don't have Roanoke's radar. Let me see if I have that plugged in here. I don't know how they've got this computer yet set up. I can tell you, as we are into this coverage into our area, we can show you the full array of products in live radar. So this is just something that popped up, and we're doing this all on the fly. So let's go to our radar loop, and I'm going to go to this and see if we don't have it set up automatically. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's come back over. Always, there we go. Okay. So we would look for what we call a couplet, inbound, outbound winds going in different directions right next to each other. That's a good indication that there is a rotation there. We look for little notches along the line, and here's something you can see with this to a degree. You can see like a little kind of a notch right in here. And again, I'm not saying that that's necessarily it or whether it's a little farther up without having the full array of products to kind of back it up. But those are the types of things that we might look for along this line.
Is that red box?
That's a tornado warning.
A warning. Okay.
So I'll put this up just so you can see what this is too. Again, this is Martinsville over towards Hinesville, and it looks like Callan's here. This is a tornado warning, and this is issued. I'm trying to see if it is radar indicated. It is radar indicated rotation. Okay, so that's what's going on with this. It's a radar indicated. There's a brand new one just to the south of this. Guys, you're going to get a feel for this. I mean, this is exactly what I'm expecting. More of these kind of rapid fire tornado warnings popping up. This one a little farther to the south. You can see this one popping up right here. You see this little tip, south tip of this right in here. Here you go. So this area right in here, moving towards Reedsville and Sadler, out there across the, this is all west of the 13 News Now viewing area, but we do want to give you the information.
So these are warnings based on what the
radar
radar is
indicated
showing?
Rotation. Again, when these systems get closer to Hampton Roads, okay, and again, they're still outside of our area. When we get into this area here, okay, Hampton Roads, look at this. I can show you, we can show you the high definition live sweep. In addition to that, we can take a look at things like the vertical velocities. We can take a look at wind shear. And when we take a look at the velocities, this is going to give me indications of inbound, outbound winds. We can take a look at shear. Where is their wind shear? And we're not seeing any yet because those targets haven't reached our area yet. But the point is, you can see all of these different types of products that help us pinpoint for folks exactly what's going on with the developing storm systems, whether there's rotation, whether there's hail involved, what the wind fields look like around this. But those areas out to the west, I don't have that live radar set up for this particular show right now. Now, you can see along that line, again, this is straddling kind of northeast North Carolina and the extreme southern part of Virginia out there to the west of South Boston. If you have family or friends, or maybe you're tuning in around South Boston, I would really encourage you to stay very weather aware here over the coming, let's see how long this one runs. This new warning runs until 11:30. I mean, you'll likely see if this is a legitimate tornado or another area along that line starts to spin up. You could see warnings reaching South Boston out that way, maybe by, say, noon. You could see that. So, again, within, I don't even know what time it is. It's all running together. 11 o'clock, you could see something out that way. Notice how everything is filling in here around Rocky Mount, back down to the south, Mount Olive, these areas here. And then off to the north, this is still non-severe, but we are looking at some showers and storms.
All right, so it sounds like it's developing quickly within the last few minutes. We
Yep,
saw
look at
that
this,
watch.
just up around Stir. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Marta.
No,
I
you're
didn't
okay.
want to do that. I just noticed another warning up this way, too. So here you are up around Leesburg, areas out just out to the west of Gainesville. We've got this. This is between Front Royal and Gainesville, Marshall. Not too far from Luray and those areas up there. You can see it looks like it's going to stay out to the west of Reston up in the D.C. area. I've got a son that lives over not far from the zoo up in D.C., and I'm sure he's weather aware, but I'd imagine I'll be getting calls and texts pretty soon.
You got to be weather aware
Dad,
if you're a meteorologist.
Legit?
Son.
Are we really
Yeah.
worried? I'm like, yes, son, it is. Take shelter now. But anyway, so you can see that area in northern Virginia also seeing the warnings. There were thunderstorm warnings and now this tornado warning. And this, again, is radar indicated rotation, and this one runs until 11:30. So a newer warning up that way. Guys, it's going to be a busy afternoon for sure. We're going to see more and more of this across the region. So far, we've been fortunate here in Hampton Roads. Nothing severe for our immediate area yet. But there is some rain, and there is one thing to note here, too. You know, we talk about, hang on, let me switch over to that's the mosaic radar so you can see everything here. Some of this rain here is going to fuel a little bit. Okay, it's going to add some moisture to the mix if we get some more sunshine before that next line pops where the tornado warnings are. That may contribute a little bit more. But sometimes, again, it robs a little bit of the energy, so that's something else that we're going to watch for. So very, very important. Folks, stay weather aware. I know you've got some more guests you want to get to, and I need to start getting some things together for the noon show. If you'd like, I'll be happy to jump back in. You guys tell me what you want to do.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to check in with Ryan Adcock from AAA, who's going to talk about some of the safety things we already did discuss. But because the radar is starting to get more active, maybe we can check in with you in a bit.
Yep.
I know you've got other work to do. But
I'm going to go check the studio. We'll set up some more of the radars, and we'll be back with more of this weather coverage across the region here on Live Impact News. Give me about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
All right, Greg.
We'll
give you a quick break. We'll be right back with more Live Impact News. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News this Monday morning, and thanks so much for sticking with us as we are under this weather impact alert. Of course, we are preparing for those severe storms to come in later this afternoon, into the evening, and overnight. In just a few minutes, we're going to chat with AAA Tidewater's Ryan Adcock about ways to be safe in your vehicle, drive safely during severe weather that we're expecting to hit us. But we do want to give some context before we have that conversation. Obviously, we're expecting severe conditions over the next few hours, but we are certainly not the only area dealing with that. And meteorologist Craig Moeller did touch on that. You know, we've got snow up in the Midwest and the North. We've got severe storms making their way through the area. So first, before we talk about driving in severe weather, let's get a look at the scope of these different weather systems and how they're impacting the country.
This morning, a powerful winter storm slamming the Midwest before heading east, causing travel trouble for millions. Up to 30 inches of snow expected in parts of Wisconsin.
We haven't had a snowstorm like this in some years.
Blizzard conditions and near zero visibility prompting officials in Minnesota to close several highways. At least 190 crashes reported on Saturday alone. Severe weather blamed for more than 3,000 flight cancellations Sunday. More are expected today as the storm pushes east, bringing a threat of damaging wind, hail, and possible tornadoes from Florida to New York. In Washington, votes postponed in Congress due to flight delays, while many federal workers are being allowed to work from home. The disruption comes amid the spring break travel rush and as TSA agents work without pay during the partial government shutdown, calling out sick in record numbers. Atlanta's airport was forced to close one of its 4 security checkpoints. Other hubs like Newark report longer than usual wait times. Lines at the airport in Austin, Texas are once again expected to stretch outside the terminal today.
Unfortunately, this is going to it's going to turn into a security risk if we're not staffed properly.
Travelers are being told to get to the airport 3 hours before their flight. Other weather extremes include a rare March heat wave on the West Coast and flooding in Hawaii. Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
All right, so that's the latest on the weather situation across the country, and that is a perfect time to bring in Ryan Adcock with AAA Tidewater, who's here to chat with us about safe driving tips. You know, Ryan, we always have you on Live Impact News when we have weather systems coming through. We, of course, appreciate it. But this is a little bit different than our last conversation when we were talking about winter weather. What are some ways that driving in severe weather is different?
Absolutely. So want to make sure that the same concept applies for winter weather as for preparing your vehicle beforehand. So especially if we have heavier rain today, making sure that our windshield wipers are operating correctly and making sure our headlights are operating correctly, because being able to see in that severe weather is just as important as being able to be seen in that severe weather out there on the road.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you know, the time is ticking for people to get those vehicle preparations underway, but we do still have a few hours before the worst of it hits. Is there anything that rises to the top of the priority list with those vehicle preparations that you're like, you need to make sure you have this working if you're going to be driving?
Really those windshield wipers and those headlights, and
Yeah.
then making sure that everything is all good to go with your tires, especially if we have this heavier wind. Anything that you can do to help your car grip that road just a little bit better is going to be super important as well.
And this seems like a simple one that we probably learned in driver's ed, but not all of us always heed this advice. You guys talk about the importance of having 2 hands on the wheel, and with those windy conditions, I imagine that makes a big difference.
Absolutely. We should always be driving with 2 hands on the wheel, but especially during these conditions of high wind, having it at 8 and 2 or 9 and 3 or whatever numbers are right here down below. We don't want 10 and 2. 4 and 8. 4 and 8. We don't want 10 and 2. This just allows you to have a little bit more control over your steering wheel if, like we were saying, during these conditions of high winds where it's swaying a little bit on the road, just helps you have a little bit more control
So
over.
no 10 and 2.
No 10 and 2. Having your hands down here, if you had your hands up here, you're liable to do this. And if you have them here down lower, there's less room for that to
That's
happen.
interesting. I've never heard that.
Well, I think
But it
the
makes sense.
guidance has changed with like 10 and 2 since we all probably took driver's ed, but they do say that 4 and 8 is like better for control. So, I mean, the experts said
your,
it.
your steering wheel's a little bit more top heavy if you're at 10 and 2, and so there's a little bit less control than if you have your hands down lower.
Well, and of course, when we do have the high winds, we've got the concern with the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, wind restrictions. They don't allow towing and cargo. And that's something in general that you say to avoid in severe weather. Obviously, when you have extra items on your vehicle, that can create issues.
Absolutely. Any added, whether it is height or any extra length on the back of your vehicle can just make it that much harder to control in these high winds. So deterring people from towing things or having trailers or things like that behind their vehicles to make it a little bit more easier to control your vehicle out there on the road.
Gotcha. And of course, we do expect to see some emergency vehicles, whether it's police or EMS or Dominion crews throughout the next few hours. What is your guidance for drivers in terms of, whether it be flashing lights or leaving extra room? What do you recommend?
Absolutely. So just traveling out there on the road, just want to make sure that we are leaving extra room around us and in between us and other vehicles, just in case anyone has to make an evasive maneuver or there's a particularly large gust of wind. Just having that extra room out there is going to be super important for not only keeping yourself safe, but keeping others on the road safe as well. And then as far as those flashing lights, any flashing red, blue, or amber lights that you see there on the side of the road or otherwise, just making sure that you're slowing down and moving over to give them enough room to do what they need to do, because everyone will be out there doing important work there on the side of the road. So giving them as much room as possible so that they can get that scene or whatever's there on the side of the road taken care of quickly is what we recommend, and the law.
Yeah, that's important too. So I know with wintry weather, when we talked last, we had the emphasis both on not driving, and if you were driving, to have an emergency kit ready. Are you making those same recommendations for this bout of weather? Are there any modifications you think people should know about? Obviously, snow emergency kits may differ from something like a breakdown in the middle of spring.
Absolutely. So as always, our chief tip is to not travel if you don't have to, and to stay home and avoid driving in this windy weather. But if you do, like we were saying, with an emergency kit, really anything that you would have in there during the winter, except on days like today, not needing to use your extra big jacket or your blankets or anything like that, but having perishable or non-perishable snacks, rather, a phone charger, jumper cables, anything like that, and anything that you can use to stick on the side of your vehicle, whether it be like a little reflective triangle to make your vehicle more visible to other vehicles that are traveling there on the road, super important as well.
Mm-hmm. And, as we head through the next few hours, I'm sure there will be people that will take to the road, and there may be some incidents if people find themselves in a situation where they're stalled or on a shoulder. I know we talk about this all the time, but what are some safety tips that AAA wants people to take if they do find themselves stopped on the road?
Absolutely. So if you are, or pull as much away from road and away from moving traffic as much as possible, and then beyond that, making sure that you are making yourself as visible as possible. So if your personal hazard lights are working, making sure that you're turning those on. If you have that little reflective triangle in your trunk kit, securing that to the side of your vehicle so that you can make yourself more visible, because again, being able to see in this weather is important, but being able to be seen in this weather is just as important. So making yourself as visible and letting people know that you're there on the side of the road as much as you can is super important.
Mm-hmm. Any other recommendations that you want people to keep in mind? Any other tips? As I know it's prepare your vehicle time, and the time is now ticking for those preparations to happen.
Absolutely. If you are traveling out there, we want to make sure that we are not using cruise control or adaptive cruise control, making sure that you have 100% control of your vehicle at all times, just in case you have to make an evasive maneuver or there's a particularly large gust of wind. Using cruise control can, even delaying your reaction by half of a second, can be the difference between an incident occurring and you being able to avoid an incident. So wanting people to not use cruise control or adaptive cruise control out there in these high winds.
Yeah, I think some people, that's like what they default to. So that's certainly a good tip to keep in mind. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming in. And, I know the tips may seem repetitive sometimes, but I do think when weather starts to change over from winter to spring, it's good to get those reminders of how to maybe drive a little bit differently. So we appreciate you being here. Okay, so we're going to switch and talk a little bit about air travel. We've obviously been monitoring the road conditions, road tips, but we do want to give you the latest look at the Norfolk International Airport website this morning because we've already seen a few delays and cancellations throughout today. So taking a look here, departures mostly looking good if you're heading towards DC. I think as these tornado watches start to come in that Craig was mentioning, we could see some differing conditions. So New York, we have a cancellation. Charlotte looks like we have a delay in place. Flights towards DC are looking okay right now. I know we had a delayed or a canceled flight from Chicago this morning. New York, a Delta flight canceled for this afternoon. So again, we had that tornado watch put into place a little bit earlier, about an hour ago, half an hour ago. So that could have an impact on flights incoming and outgoing. We'll continue to monitor the flight board. Let's take a look at arrivals really quickly. Newark's looking good. Baltimore, New York, those flights. It looks like morning flights kind of went off without a hitch, and then we hit that afternoon line, and we're starting to see those issues here. So if you do have somebody flying in this afternoon, or maybe you're watching, heading to Hampton Roads, definitely want to keep up to date with American Airlines, Delta, all of those flight companies that make their way into the area. So watching that. Let's get the latest look at Dominion Energy as well while we are taking a look at our computer screen. So earlier when we checked in, we had 2,000 customers without power in all of Dominion Energy's service area, which of course includes Hampton Roads, but includes much of Virginia and into DC. That number went up to about 10,000. Looks like it's now back to 7,000. So that's good news. Again, for the eastern area of Virginia, our eastern district, we're in the clear right now, but things are likely going to change as we head into the next few hours. So as we take a look here, Sarah's driving. She's driving the website.
All
it's okay.
over Virginia.
It's okay. It looks like the majority of the outages are actually in Richmond, so that's kind of a change from earlier on. And we can't say, of course, if those are specifically related to weather, but that's an area we'll watch. And then again, we will likely see power outages kind of click into place as that weather system makes its way towards us throughout this afternoon. Northern Virginia seeing about 2,500 people without power. But again, our area is looking good so far. Do want to mention as well, of course, Dominion Energy. Craig mentioned this. We've been mentioning this. They tell us all about the preparations they make for storms like this. They've already got crews on standby in the event of an outage, and it's so important to report those outages if you do encounter one. Patrick Gray, one of our reporters, spoke to Dominion about how they're preparing for this storm system coming in. Take a look.
Have an emergency plan. Because tornadoes are expected, have a conversation with your family about how you're going to shelter in place should a tornado pop up, who you might need to reach out to.
Sharice Newsom, spokesperson for Dominion Energy, says Monday is expected to be a busy day. Crews will be working throughout the day to help assist those affected by the storm.
We have multiple shifts that are going to be working and even overlapping that provides extra hands on deck, so to speak, so that our crews can respond right away to any issues that pop up.
Newsom says that high wind speeds are the biggest threat to the electrical grid and could impact crews' response times.
It can cause trees and tree branches to fall into power lines, causing an interruption in the flow of power. They can also fall on power poles, causing them to break. For example, a broken power pole can take up to 8 hours to repair.
Those winds also make working conditions for crews dangerous.
So what wind does is pose a risk to the power lines because they can cause trees to fall on power lines and break. But then they also can slow down restoration time because safety is our top priority.
Afternoon storm conditions may affect crews' response time, according to Newsom, but she says crews will be working hard to respond to all scenes.
We're expecting it to hit in the afternoon and even at nighttime. And so that could be during rush hour, that could be as people are getting off work and out of school. So we could have traffic congestion, which then poses a challenge for our crews who are trying to navigate around the region to make repairs.
And Marta stepped out for just a second, so I want to take a closer look at... I'm going to take a closer look at the Dominion outage map. And it looks like there are some outages, but again, the weather hasn't gotten here yet.
No,
For the
and I'm
most part.
back.
Hi, Marta.
Yeah, so obviously we are not seeing the majority of the outages yet. But earlier, the ones we were tracking in Hampton Roads were due to equipment updates. And I do like that about the Dominion site, is they usually give you a pretty clear reason for why you are seeing, an outage. So equipment upgrade. If it's a tree falling on a power line, they'll usually tell you, but of course it takes some time for them to evaluate what's going on. It looks like we have about 30 people without power in that area of Ocean View. So again, as we mentioned before, this is a great website. It's a great tool to use if you are either, experiencing an outage and you're curious as to why or when you think the power will come back on, or you need to report one. It's a great system to use. So Richmond seeing the majority of those issues right now. As we continue through today, we'll continue to track Hampton Roads and tell you where and how many people in our area are without power. We're going to get the latest on the forecast from Craig in just a few minutes, and we will be back with more Live Impact News in just a few minutes. All right, we are continuing to track this weather impact alert here on Live Impact News. Thanks for sticking with us. It is about 11:25 this morning, and we've been talking all about the weather all morning long. Craig stepped out for a few minutes, was taking an updated look at the radar because, of course, Craig, last time we checked in with you, we were starting to see issues developing closer to home, and we are now under that tornado watch. Can you give us the latest on the storm's track and what we expect to see? Has anything changed?
So the storm is coming together, and we do have a tornado watch until 7 o'clock this evening. You can see it's for this entire area shaded in pink or magenta right now. This includes the entire 13 News Now viewing area from the eastern shore through the south side, the peninsula, middle peninsula, the northern neck, all of these areas, and then northeast North Carolina, basically north of the Albemarle Sound. So far, no severe weather for our 13 News Now viewing area, but we're going to see showers and storms developing, and we've already had some pretty big storms out to the west. You take a look here approaching the South Boston area. Danville more recently has seen this tornado warning issued. Just checked it. It is radar indicated, but we are getting a lot of the rotation, that inbound, outbound wind that we've been talking about, a sign that we've got some circulation or some rotation going on. So again, folks out in Danville, out around South Boston, still outside of our area, but certainly a cell there that we're concerned with. Then you've got kind of these elongated lines here you can see moving down through the area. These are lines of potentially severe storms. A lot of outflow. Remember, we don't issue warnings based on just, lightning or, just general storm development. You need to have either gusty winds, large hail, or tornadoes. And while some of these are producing a bit of lightning, the main concern is going to be those gusty winds as the system moves along. Now, you take a look at the severe weather outlook, and you can see again across parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, into Virginia here. We've got this level 4 widespread severe storms expected. As you can see, much of Raleigh, well, the entire Raleigh area, but much of central North Carolina up through Rocky Mount, Roanoke Rapids, and areas off to the north of that through central Virginia, all under this level 4 threat. This includes the D.C. area. Up to Baltimore, it's just a level 3 threat. But again, this is a very, very high risk of severe storms, and widespread storms are anticipated as we get into the afternoon. For the Hampton Roads area, the metro area specifically, we are looking at a level 3 threat. So again, here, this is what we would refer to as an enhanced risk of severe storms, and this is something that we have to take very, very seriously. The threat is a little bit lower, as you can see up on the eastern shore there when you get up into Accomack and up into Maryland and Delaware. But certainly for our area, and especially the western parts of the 13 News Now area, we need to be mindful that we are looking at the strongest severe storms and tornadoes. This will be a concern. We've already had multiple warnings out to the west and really the southwest once you get down into the central and southern portions of North Carolina out towards Charlotte. There was a tornado warning. All radar indicated as far as the warnings go, but we've seen some down towards Charlotte and areas off to the northeast of that, and we will likely see more. And keep in mind, you see this EF2 plus, okay, for the areas in these hashed regions, which includes the entire 13 News Now viewing area, maybe the exception up here around the eastern shore. This is kind of borderline, but I would say keep your guard up in case they have an EF2 up that way as well. Also, very powerful winds through the day. We could see gusts in excess of 75 miles per hour for these areas again, and we're all hashed out. Now, the hail risk is lower, and that is a blessing, okay? We don't want the large hail. Obviously, tornadoes and very powerful wind gusts, big enough concern, but I just wanted to let you know it's just that first tier of elevated risk of hail. Really, this is the least of our concerns. It's going to be strong winds and tornadoes that really have us most greatly concerned. Warnings have been issued from Pennsylvania down through Maryland, northern Virginia, all the way down through western parts of Virginia into central North Carolina. Look at the line of watches for our area until 7 o'clock this evening. We have just about the entire viewing area, the exception being areas just south of the Albemarle Sound and the southern Outer Banks. Everybody else under tornado watch, and we got a new warning that was just put up there down in Georgia. We'll zoom into that very quickly just to show you our new warning. But you see how these lines are here producing these, you get these basically streets or lines of storms that come out, a lot of them just producing some very gusty winds. We look for some bowing where the line kind of moves along and then it starts to accelerate out a little bit. That's an indication of some very powerful winds. And then along that line, we're also looking for indication of rotation. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this as we get into the afternoon. So that's down in Georgia. I'll just quickly put that warning up there. Live Impact News can be reached just about anywhere. Obviously, if you've got access to the World Wide Web, you can find us here on Live Impact News, and we want to let you know about that. So, tornado warning for the counties of Irwin and Tift in Georgia. Only about 8,300 people down there under the warning, and that's until noon. So they've got another half an hour on that one. Now, as we take a look, let's come back up to our area and talk some more about the showers. Widespread across South Carolina, some more intense cells back across North Carolina, and we're seeing a little more development just out to our west. Again, we've got this tornado warning here around Danville, and that is moving off to the northeast here pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and put the indication back on this so you can get a feel for it. In addition to this particular tornado warning, there's also a thunderstorm warning for a much larger area. This does include the city of Danville, obviously, although it looks like that rotation is starting to push past Danville at this point. And again, it is moving along at a pretty good clip. I believe it's about 35 miles per hour. I'm looking for the movement statement from the National Weather Service, actually moving northeast at 45. So I take that, and that's significant to note because I'm going to clear that messaging off there, and then let me go ahead and pull up the tracker on this so we can give you a feel for where it's going next. Again, you see that cell. I would say it's pretty much clear of Danville, the tornadic area, but let's put a new track on this. And again, moving off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour from this area in that general direction. Here's some of the other communities that it could reach: Beaver Park, Birch, Lux, High Rock, Elkhorn, Halifax, Cody, Piney Grove, and Brookneal. All of these are communities that are not under the tornado warning right now, but as this moves along, you want to be mindful of that. So if this thing does hold together, we get some more circulation somewhere else along the line. These are some of the general communities that are in line as that tracks along at 45 miles per hour. So a lot to watch with the line still far to the west. Let's bring it back to Hampton Roads. And as we do that, again, I want to put that live sweep on so you can get a good look at what's happening. Some lightning detected here out to the west of Franklin and down towards Emporia, Roanoke Rapids. Some pretty intense rains here, but still no warnings issued to this point for this area. Now, I will tell you our 13 News Now broadcast over the air will begin at noon, and Evan Stewart and I are going to tag team the coverage on this. I'll also mention our colleague Hunter Force is out in the weather interceptor, the weather impact interceptor. So he's going to be heading out to the west and checking things out, trying to kind of intercept some of these storms that are developing, giving us a closer look at some of the activity going on. Notice Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Suffolk, Hampton, up through Newport News. Most of these areas still in really good shape, along with most of northeast North Carolina. Some showers starting to develop, but we're really just getting started. It's still late morning, and we knew the greater threat was going to come through the afternoon for our area, and that's what we are watching, and we do have multiple meteorologists set to cover this for you throughout the afternoon. I'll give you a look at the futurecast and how things are going to shape up as we go along here. Again, we have our weather impact alert, and this is for the region. You can see what's going on here. You can see the temperatures up into the lower to mid 70s. We are going to find the winds and then the storms developing as we go through the afternoon, especially mid-afternoon and late afternoon. We could get a couple rounds as this stuff is coming through. Temperatures right now are starting to warm up a little bit more. We were in the upper 60s earlier. Now we're in the lower 70s, so these temperatures lining up with the forecast. It took a while to get out of the upper 60s. We're into the low 70s now. That additional heating with dew points in the 60s, and we can continue to monitor that as well. Those dew points providing enough juice in the atmosphere to trigger those stronger storms. Gale warnings up this afternoon for the bay and the ocean with the system coming through, so we want folks to be mindful of that. Again, some tornado safety tips. If you're at home and a warning is issued, you want to go to the basement, smallest center room in your house on the lowest floor. Stay away from windows and cover yourself. If you're in a high rise, you want to get to a lower floor if possible, or you can seek shelter in interior stairwells. They tend to do pretty good as well. All right, we're going to go back to the radar and the satellite images. No tornado warnings at this point, but we do have a watch, which means all the ingredients are there. And again, this is for Southeast Virginia, and I would say the northeast part of North Carolina needs to be on guard as well. It's interesting, this watch box kind of outlined here at the state line, because some of the other watches extend down into northeast North Carolina, and they have the potential for the tornadoes as well. So if you're around the Albemarle Sound or north, consider yourself under that watch as well until 7 o'clock, all right? As a matter of fact, I can just very quickly show you the other radar image, and you can see with the other one, how it does include those areas down to the south. So here's our watch box right across these areas, and then all of southeast Virginia. Nothing severe yet, but I do think we're going to see the potential. And here's our future cast. Again, cells initially out to the west. This is what we're tracking right now. Some more development starting to show up down to the south. As we go forward, by 2 o'clock, some heavier cells reaching the ocean front and really intense. These are ones that could be severe, especially out to the west. As we head through the afternoon, 3:30, 4 o'clock, you can bet our team here will be working to keep you updated on any development if this does come together. These are the cells that could produce very gusty winds and some rotation as well, potential tornadoes across parts of the region, something we'll be considering. Heading into the evening around 6 o'clock, additional showers and storms, some of those very gusty winds and rotations possible into the evening by 8 o'clock. A lot of that heavier activity should be pulling offshore. And then notice this line right here. And I've got the winds here so you can see coming up from the south ahead of the front, shifting to the west behind the front. This is where that cold front is right here around 8 o'clock. As we go towards 10 o'clock, this is going to push towards the coast, and you see that cooler air will start to sweep in. Temperatures will drop. Showers wind down after 10, say after about midnight. We should be done. And after that, we're going to welcome some cooler and drier air for tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. But this is the concern. So we really need folks to be very, very careful. Again, we've been keeping an eye to pollen. It was high over the weekend. It's moderate today. And again, we do want folks to know while it's warm, pretty pleasant in areas right now, storms are likely later this afternoon. And as I showed you, even into the evening. Off to the north, a little bit cooler over in the eastern shore. It's also pretty windy out there, so look for the breezy conditions. Temperatures tonight falling into the low 30s tomorrow morning with clearing skies. Those storms winding down during the evening and then showers tapering off after midnight. Tomorrow, mostly sunny for St. Patrick's Day, a high near 47. Now, Wednesday, 46, 55 on Thursday, up to 62 Friday, and mid to upper 60s Saturday. By Sunday, 68. Things looking pretty comfortable for us temperature-wise, but we need to continue to watch for the storms through the afternoon before we can enjoy the nicer weather later this week. Marta, I just went for a pretty long time talking about the weather. Do you have any questions? I love it because we get into the roll on this, but I'm always interested to hear if you guys as viewers have any questions about anything unfolding.
Well, I know in the past 30 minutes or so, that's where we kind of started to see things ramp up. So our weather impact interceptors out, we have live cameras from the Richmond airport. Are you seeing anything in the skies right now or with weather conditions? When you look at that live picture, does that tell you anything about what's coming or not?
You see the clouds are thickening up. Now, what is this? This is actually from
where?
This
is from Richmond.
This is from Richmond.
This is the airport.
Okay. So you can see the clouds rolling up. Also notice if we just take a look at that, you can see how quickly the clouds are moving. I see it's now from WTVR. So those clouds are moving along noticeably. You've got winds kicking along pretty good from the south there. When that front comes into play out ahead of it, we're going to start to see the winds kind of changing direction a little bit with height, and that again kind of sets the stage for the potential. Obviously, eventually we're going to see cooler air moving in, but we're going to be watching those winds as a key as we go throughout the afternoon and into the evening once that front arrives. For now, I would say just a strong south wind blowing the humidity and the warm air up from the south, and we have that potential. Do we have the weather impact interceptor out yet, or I see they're just about ready to head out? Pushing
I think they're parked at the moment.
They're parked. They're getting ready for the noon.
Yeah, they're getting set to go. So as we go through the afternoon, I think that's going to be a really, really interesting vantage. And to tell you the truth, I'm going to be around covering for a while. But if stuff's going, I've got the ability to go live from across the south side or wherever, and I'm going to be watching that through the afternoon. I did a lot of storm chasing, when I was in college, and at various times here at 13 News Now as well. So this is one of those things where, again, if we don't get as much development here, we will count ourselves blessed and be very happy with that. But at this point, you need to know our news team at 13 News Now, our meteorologists, we've got redundancy and that there's multiple meteorologists on duty today to make sure we've got everything covered on air, online, and on your mobile devices. So very important social media. We're trying to push out videos as well. Busy, busy day.
And I do want to note, we just saw what looked like a commercial plane take off. I know the smaller jets may have issues, but with Richmond, because I know some people fly out of Richmond instead of Norfolk, and the Norfolk airport, do you think, A, we're looking at a bunch of flight cancellations across the board? And if so, is that something we'll start to see?
Yeah.
I know some of them are already canceled. But
it all depends on how the line comes together and when it comes together. Generally you get winds 35, 40 miles per hour. Maybe a little bumpy sometimes, but those jets don't have any problems with that. I mean, they fly at their incredible speeds, right? So they're built to deal with that. Where planes get into trouble and what we have to watch for is sudden wind shifts or sudden drops in wind speed, because if those planes lose that wind coming underneath the wings, they fall. That's what gives them the lift, okay, is the airspeed underneath the wings. So that's what they're going to be watching for right now. Richmond's operations, we just saw another commercial jet take off there. Certainly the big airliners still rolling, but you can bet they'll be watching. And of course, when there are severe storms over an airport, they issue ground stops. They don't want to take any chances with passengers. So I'm sure they are experts, and they will be watching that very, very carefully. I'm looking at some of the other sky views, like down around the Jordan Bridge. We still have some sunshine peeking through. And I think it's interesting, Sarah, we're finding our temperatures now jumping up into the low to mid 70s. Took a while to get here, Marta. It was cool all morning. But now we're seeing those sunshine little pops and peaks. Where we get that, the temperature jumps up lower to mid 70s. Stage is set for the stronger storms.
Well, yeah, and if I know we have all of our sky views up, so like the beach cam behind you, we've got.
Yeah, we can take a little tour.
Let's take a
go
tour
ahead
of
and go
Hampton
for
Roads.
it.
Let's bounce around. This is from the Jordan Bridge. So we have blue skies in place, but it looks like the clouds are kind of thickening, and that's Hampton.
Clouds are rolling back in. Take a look at LFCU. Let's go up to Oyster Point City Center in Newport News. There you go. Love that sky. I mean, you see some of the clouds there. Again, nothing too dramatic in terms of, any supercell activity there, but you are seeing varying layers of cloud cover and some breaks. You see some bright spots there as well. Now, it looks like our kind of balance or leveling on our camera at Nauticus Cam 1 is a little askew, but it tells a story. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And again, it almost looks like the clouds are kind of falling off the table there.
That would be the camera.
I think the winds got to that and actually kind of, not today, this has been like this for a little while. We got to get that leveled out. But look at the clouds again starting to thicken up. People ask, well, what about, the darker gray clouds? What does that mean about the storms? Basically, that's just a measure or an indication of the thickness of the clouds. Light can't pass through the thicker clouds. You get some darker shading, and that's what you're looking at the base of some of those clouds. And then you can see some of the holes between the clouds as well. So I'm just looking there. I think the Chamberlain cam actually has some peaks of sunshine right now. If you go to that, there you go. You can see that sun trying to still kind of stick through those clouds. This is at the Chamberlain. You see one of the ships going out. And you might think, well, gosh, why would they want to go out with thunderstorms? Those big ships actually a lot of times do better out on the water than they do, with these things, because the winds can kind of push them around a little bit. But at any rate, I will trust that those mariners know what they're doing with that ship. And the wave action there, a little breezy. We do have gale warnings. Certainly nothing that small craft would want to be out with or deal with today, but those larger tankers can handle a lot more.
So it's kind of seeing the skies change. When we checked in with you on the radar in the last forecast, we were starting to see, tornado warnings pop up. Anything you're seeing on the radar that's surprising to you, or is it all kind of coming together as you guys thought?
Nope. So far it's pretty much coming together. The models kind of project something. You don't always know which model to exactly trust, but so far the thinking is still right, and that the worst of it's to our west. We're getting some more in North Carolina. Sarah, if you want to take Max 2 again, if it's available, is it up? Do you still have the radar up there? I've got probably the 7-day, don't I?
Sarah can do anything.
She's
just
magic
give her
that
like
way. I know.
15 seconds. Boom.
All right.
She's
hang on a
got
second.
it. This is what you want?
Well, no, that's fine. Yep, that's the source. I'm going to go ahead and pop over the radar just to see. It's funny, we're talking here. It's possible we could have seen additional warnings pop up. So as we take a look, and there she is loaded up. We'll go to the Mosaic. And it looks like that one out around Danville's pretty much wound down now. There's still severe thunderstorm warnings out there with that line out towards South Boston. And the last little sliver, yeah, it looks like that's been discontinued. So great news there. Up towards Seneca and some of those other areas like Rustburg and Lynchburg, they've seen some rain now, just rain showers basically in Lynchburg. But Seneca, you need to be on your game there as you're getting hit with heavy rain, a lot of lightning, I'm sure, out there. As we look back closer to Hampton Roads, Williamsburg seeing some showers, nothing severe, just some rain. Moderate to heavy around Jarrett, down through Emporia, and out towards Branchville as well. So this is what's happening right now. Again, I would say the stage is still set, and we've got more opportunities for severe storms as we go through the afternoon.
If we see tornado warnings or like severe thunderstorm warnings in Hampton Roads, that's a situation where you guys will be on the air
nonstop.
Wall to wall.
So we do that. We have an obligation to pass along, as part of our FCC license, warnings. There are some folks that are blessed to have all of these wonderful digital devices, but there are others that may not have the means. It seems like almost everybody has a cell phone of some sort now, but not everybody has access to everything, all of the ways that some folks may access the data. So with a broadcast license, we still are obligated to get warning information out. We'll be doing that when there are tornado warnings, and especially depending on how it looks when they are really very strong signatures on the radar or confirmed tornadoes. We stay with them, until that tornado warning is passed and the threat is no longer. So again, we've got our team in place. Evan is here. I'm going to stick around a bit longer. Hunter's going out in the Weather Interceptor, and Tim will be in this afternoon. We'll continue to work to keep you updated right here on 13 News Now Plus, whether it's live impact news through the morning or afternoon, and then additional coverages live throughout the day on 13 News Now. I cannot stress it enough. Folks need to stay weather aware, and we'll get everybody through it as best we can. But the main thing is just know what your threats are and have a plan as well. Just make sure everything's charged up. If you still have power, it's a good idea to make sure everything's topped off with power.
I just want to say that within the last 5 minutes that we've been talking, the live look at Richmond International Airport has changed significantly.
Oh, yeah. You can see the rain,
yeah.
Sure. Yep, so the ceiling is lowered. And again, this isn't even severe weather that they're dealing with. That's just a good rain up there. They do have a little heavier cell just off to the southeast of the airport area around Varina. I think it's Varina. Is it Varina or Varina? Varina? Let's go with Varina. I don't know. That's a new one on me. See, Marta's laughing because I'm usually the pronunciation guy here, but I don't.
Varina. Okay,
It's Varina? That's all right. I'd go with Varina.
Either way, it's
raining. All right, so you say Varina, I say Varina. All right. At any rate, they've got some heavier rain down there. Again, nothing severe across our area, and that is great news. I'll tell you what I have to do right now. I have to go over and jump in and get ready for the noon show.
That's okay. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to wrap up here with a look at your road conditions, sky conditions, energy conditions. So we will let you go, Craig. But thank you so much. You carried the show today.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to you guys. I will look forward to visiting again when there's not so much of a severe threat. Stay weather aware, and we'll keep you updated throughout the day on 13 News Now.
All right. Thanks, Craig. And we'll be back with more live impact news in just a few minutes. All right, thanks so much for sticking with us for Live Impact News today. Of course, the main headline this afternoon and heading into the rest of today is going to be the weather. We're currently under a weather impact alert as of about 45 minutes ago. We were placed under a tornado watch for all of Hampton Roads. Meteorologist Craig Muller was with us for most of the morning, tracking the radar and looking at, different areas, not in our viewing area, but different areas popping up with tornado warnings. That could be a sign of what we're going to see later on today. So keeping all of that in mind, do want to take a look at your current travel conditions. We, of course, expect delays to take hold as we head later into this afternoon and evening. Your afternoon commute, you could see some tricks. This is a look at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel website. Right when you head to that website, they immediately say, hey, just FYI, we'll probably see delays, we'll probably see restrictions as we head through today. And you can see up at the top of the website, underneath the pop-up, a wind advisory is now in effect on the CBBT. That was put into place within the last 25 minutes. They sent out that tweet. So with a wind advisory, the good news is all vehicles can still cross the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. So the only thing that changes is that the speed limit is reduced from 55 miles an hour to 45 miles an hour. No passing is allowed under the advisory. Now, if we get the winds that our meteorologists have been forecasting with wind gusts of up to 75 miles an hour, we're going to be looking at likely a closure of the CBBT. So if you're somebody that crosses the water to the eastern shore or vice versa, you do want to keep that in mind. Sarah, if you go to tolls and travel info and then weather,
sorry, I got
there's
a
a lot
lost.
of pop-ups happening. It's okay. I want to give you a look at
Weather.
Weather. It should show us the weather conditions, and it will tell us a little bit about, the wind restrictions and how they are determined. So we're currently, again, under an advisory. I would not be surprised if we see a wind restriction come into play over the next few hours. If you click level 1, you can see that means that wind gusts on the bridge have been clocked at 40 miles an hour. So it's just a little bit of a step up from a wind advisory. In that case, that's when we start to see those vehicle restrictions take hold. That includes motorcycles, large pickup campers, including RVs, camper trailers, house trailers, anything being towed, anything with exterior cargo, six-wheel trucks, buses, and this is an important one to note, empty tractor trailers. If you have less than 15,000 pounds of cargo, again, we have the risk of a vehicle not being weighed down, and that is why they do not allow those vehicles to cross. If you have a full tractor trailer, you will be fine under this level of restriction. You can see the vehicles on your screen that will be allowed: tractors without trailers, empty car carriers, empty lowboys, and then of course tractor trailers meeting that threshold of cargo. All right, let's take a look at level 2, and I do want to go over these because I think we have a good chance of seeing any and all of these today. The restrictions continue: 50-mile-per-hour winds, cars without exterior cargo, pickup trucks, minivans, vans, and SUVs are the only vehicles allowed to cross. So now we've ruled out all of those empty trucks, full tractor trailers that we were talking about earlier. And then a level 3 restriction is a complete closure of the CBBT. And again, that is not out of the question for today. 60+ mile-per-hour winds clocked on the bridge. We've seen this a few times over the past few months, so continuing to watch that. That is the latest look at your road conditions. And again, stick with 13 News Now all throughout today. We're going to have so much more on the weather forecast and the weather impacts. But for now, for Live Impact News, we're going to wrap up. If you stay here, you can watch 13 News Now at noon, and then we'll have more Live Impact News from 1 to 3. But thanks so much for joining us.